G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Spectrum podcast. I'm joined with another amazing guest, Kerri. Thank you very much for joining us, Kerri. I guess we'll get straight into it. Tell us about you.
Okay, so I'm Kerri. I am a mum of one child, and we were living in Queensland for a good portion of time. But we've just moved down to New South Wales. In my previous life, I was a teacher for 15 years. And then I've taken a step back in that journey once having my son. Started to recognise a lot of traits within myself that were coming out in him as well. And then that led me to get my ADHD diagnosis when he was 2. We're still on his journey, but didn't notice any of that when I was teaching.
It's a little revelation for you, hey?
Yes, it was. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, great. So, how are you finding it all so far? Are you sort of
It makes
challenging?
sense. No, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I find that's helped as well. And I find that we haven't had to. I'm looking down the autism realm as well, but because I create an environment for my son and myself that sets us up for success. We've had some challenges with getting diagnoses because he isn't presenting extreme stress because his environment is ideal and it's in a safe space. So that has been a bit of a challenge to get over the line with any diagnosis for him. He has got hearing impairment, as to myself, yeah. But that's the struggle, a struggle from a medical perspective, because I guess from teaching and being able to nurture him in a way it does create a lot of moments of distress for him. But over the years, we've worked together to become a bit more of a baseline, so that becomes less. But it's hard to convince other people in the medical field.
So it's a double-edged sword for you, sort of.
Yeah.
You're setting things up nicely to function well, but then they're looking at the proof and going, well, they're not seeing it. So.
Yeah. So that's been the hardest bit, I think, is getting over the line with that.
And is that something that you're still having to push forward with, or are you sort of...
Because we've done a lot of moving in the last 18 months, 2 years. We were on the Sunshine Coast. Then we've moved to Charleville in Queensland, southwest Queensland, and then now here. So it's been a big challenge in the last year. But we'll be able to set up those services again. But he has NDIS already since 9 months old. And now his plan actually does involve a little bit more with a psychologist, so we can go down that route of assessment again and OT and everything. So he's had the benefit of having all of those early interventions from the get-go.
Yep.
To provide a foundation for him without having any diagnosis official.
And is he aware of any sort of difference or diagnosis?
Yeah. We talk about it all the time. About how many spoons we have left in that energy.
Okay.
So we have a bit of a running record of I've said I've only had a handle left. He's like, well, I can give you some of my spoon, Mum. We can share it out, and that's been really good. And knowing that my brain's just different, and it's good. Everyone's got different brains, so all of that self-acceptance, and it's just being the norm.
Yeah.
But we did start school last year, and he did 2 terms, and I had to stop school. I'd pulled him out.
Yeah, okay.
So it was a big struggle last year. Well, not struggle, just a different a season of it being really hard for him. And I could see that as term 1 moved into term 2, that his reluctance, there was a lot of school can't going on for him. And I recognised that. And that was something that we were going to do a homeschooling journey, but because I did start teaching again last year, but it just wasn't working for us. And I recognised that, and I didn't want to push him so that the trauma would be embedded. So after term 2, he said, I'm done with prep, Mum. I've turned 6. You can homeschool me.
Well, I guess there's no better person to do it, considering you're a teacher.
I took a relaxed approach and just unschooled him for the rest of last year.
Yeah.
I didn't want to enforce anything, because he was very anti-reading, and he was very, very getting very distressed, very angry at school, lashing out at me. The emotions were getting a lot more violent to what he used to be like, and just not being able to process a lot of things like he was before. So I know that if I kept pushing him in school last year, he'd be a different child now. But he's going to a school now.
Yeah, okay.
It's a school of 30 kids, and he loves it.
Nice.
Yep.
and the school is accepting and
Yep.
understanding and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
So there's 11 kids in his class from prep to 3.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yep. And he's loving going. I was a bit like, not sure, but no, he's really thriving, and that's been fantastic so far.
But that's a relief for you then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, that's good. And so it's interesting how they can sort of push back on things like your reading and that sort of stuff. And I know I've got a young fellow who that I do support work with, and parents are. He was meant to go to prep this year, but he's very smart and he would be bored at prep. So, in my brain is like, all right, it's always good skill to have the writing and stuff. He has roller doors and fans, and I'm sort of thinking of like, okay, he wants to do YouTube. So next week, well, when I see him next, I think it's going to be wet. I'm going to get him to write a little script out for his YouTube video and film him sort of, practicing. So instead of that forced reading and writing.
Yeah. That's where the ADHD or even autism as well. Like, you've got to have a special interest. Otherwise, they just, like I do, I'm like, what's the point? There's no point. There's no point to it. And that was something I struggled with school. Like, there's no point to it. So I empathise with the students about some of the things that we had to do with school. But being able to be creative in a way that shows them where the relevance of writing some stuff correlates with their interest, then you're on a good wicket there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's about nurturing their interest, isn't it? Like, no matter what it is.
And knowing that. So I was teaching in a Steiner school, and I had kids that weren't reading, or refused to read or write until they turned 13, and then boom, like that, something just clicked in their head, and we didn't push them. They were still absorbed with it, and we just the push wasn't there to demand them to just do what you can, and then it just fell into place, and then they started reading novels just over a summer. They just sort of started, I'm ready now. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. That's good. That's so good. Yeah, and just seeing how people evolve and change when no pressure and when needed. So that's pretty awesome. So any other sort of challenges that you've faced on your journey?
Yeah, the emotional regulation and being able to regulate myself first.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's a big one, isn't it?
To do the co-regulating. So if I can't regulate myself, there's no way my little child was going to regulate. So I had to reparent myself in these years as well. So my family, that was not how we were taught. Like, it was out of fear and coercive control and things. So I've had to reparent myself because I wasn't going to do the same form of tactics to cope. And it's just because my mum only knew what she knew, and I was like, well, I know that, but I know that that's not going to work for me. But I was very reactive to him when he was little, just because that triggering.
Yeah,
I knew, okay, well, I need to do it in a different way. And so, until I could regulate myself, there's no way I could actually meet him where he was at.
Yeah, it's a very generational thing, isn't it? That whole discipline and that sort of stuff. And you only know what you know, and you work out, well, hang on, I didn't like that. Are they going to like that? So how do I do it different or better? What sort of things did you have to do to reparent yourself? Was there anything in particular? Or?
I did inner child work, lots of revisiting myself, looking at what I felt. Why was I getting triggered? Is it because watching like shame, like the society, watching as my child's not coping, then the implications of that being, oh, you must be a bad parent, like all of those stories coming into your head. But then having to move through that and go, actually, that's not what it's about. He's having a hard time. And I used to do a lot of, I've read lots of books and watched a lot of YouTube clips. And Vanessa, I can't remember her last name. She's from Canada. She does a lot of work with Maggie Dent. She does a lot with child psychology and everything. I was fascinated with all of that to be able to cope and like work out how to do this and go, oh no, I've got to be on their level. So and then I started modeling that a lot in public and with friends to go, and our kids are okay if they lash out. Their brain's not fully formed yet. And just to understand that from a cognitive level myself.
Yeah. removing, I guess, that expectation that,
Yeah.
oh, what will people think? They're
And they're
being
making noise.
kids. Yeah.
And I think that's been fantastic because he's 6.5 now. That I've had that time away from actually any of my family or any other influences around. It's just been the situation we've been in, but it's just been him and me for the whole of his life. So I've been his prime, unless he's been at kindy or childcare, I've been his prime co-regulator. And so I feel like he's equipped with a lot of tools now when it's been difficult for me coming back to my hometown and having my family see how they react when he has a reaction, because I don't react to it, but they are like trying to shush him or bribe him with lollies or money just because they're not coping, right? And that's really fascinating to watch that, but know that he's okay, and he'll tell them, no, I don't want you hugging me. And that's okay. And my body, or he'll be like, when I'm ready, like he's very good at advocating for himself now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's funny. So a little boy I work with, he's funny because I deliberately will push a few buttons and sort of try and get that reaction just to see how they react. And my favourite one he says to me is, Clint, read my body language.
Yes.
I'm like, that is so good. It's like, read my body language. That is not okay. Yeah. And that's me pushing him on the swing. So I just think that's amazing to see him sort of, how he's aware of that. And
that's so good.
Sort of and it's also,
around. Supporting their window of tolerance as well. It's a hard balance because you want to there to protect them, but you also know you'll do them a disservice if you don't allow them to have other people in their life that may have a different approach to their tone. Like Elijah is my son, and he's had a very traumatic before birth and early start to life. So people with raised voices is internally threatening for him, but knowing that he's still safe. You can get challenged with a bit of authority if it's not in the right heart space.
And I think that's that's a really good point, is having that exposure. Like kids I know at school who, when it's exam time, they get taken out of the exam room to a separate room, and they get all this there. And I'm like, it's great that they're looking after you, but part of me is also, because he didn't get taken out, he had to do it in the room. Like, you're in high school now. When you are in a workplace, you're not always going to be able to have that sort of space. So let's work on your adaptability and how to handle these situations, not just having everything go his way and have everything perfect, because that's not how it works.
But also having, and I guess it is time, space and resources, but to have accommodations for people, because regardless, because in interview you're struggling because the world's still trying to get us to still be in the neurotypical land.
100%.
Where it's like, well, actually, you guys can easily accommodate for these things. It's not like they're cheating, or maybe they need to be in that space. That's the rule of exception or whatever. But let's accommodate.
I think definitely needs to be that accommodation for people, but also being able to have the ability to sort of adapt if it's not there, and then have that safe space at home to sort of go, that was a big day, I need to go home.
And recognising those. And also sometimes it's that building up to that, like if they are having exams, building up to that end game. Like, so there might be that the teacher or whatever, like they might do those mock exams or something in that actual space. So it helps that tolerance level kind of strengthen or widen in those times of stress. It can't be just like this all the time and happy, because that's not, you've got to be up and down, but that's safe, not constantly up with your cortisol going off.
And that's true. I call it dancing in the shadows, especially, I do it a lot of when we're climbing trees and stuff. Like, you'll see the kids will get to that point where they're terrified. Like, it's just like they're stopped, and it's, and then, instead of going, okay, come down, it's like, okay, take one more step, or, one more inch. And you're there. How are you feeling? Where do you feel it? How does it feel? Has it got a color? But then you bring them back to that safe space, and then it's like, hey, see, you did it. Well done. You survived. And then next week or next session, you can go that a little bit further and further. So I love what you're saying around that. So.
A lot of patience. And there are days where I flip my lid and I'll just be like, I can't deal. And then the best thing is, like, we're human, And we will have those times, like you can try as much as you want to keep you calm all the time. So that sort of sometimes has a disservice as well, because there are times where you do flip your lid, but the best thing is to come back and re-establish that relationship again and repair it. So there are times where, and that's modeling it. And so there's been times where I have been a bit growly or a bit less patient, but then I've come back and repaired that relationship with him. And then he's learning that even if you do have mistakes, there's the repair is so much more important than sometimes whatever else is happening, because they've got to know that you can come back to that space again, and that we are human and we do make mistakes.
Sometimes if I do something in my sessions or say something that upsets them, I will pick up and it's like, hey, I'm sorry, like I didn't mean, and then you can see that sort of like, yeah, that's okay, and then we're good, yeah.
When I know Elijah has many flipping lid moments, but then I know not to go aggravate him or go near him, because we've learnt about that stuff. Or he's told me if I run away, he's not running away forever. Yeah. He's just gone to his spot. Don't chase him.
Yeah.
Because actually that's just him needing to go process, and then he comes back and repairs that. He goes, "Oh, Mum, I'm sorry for, yelling or calling you something." And I'm like, "That's okay, mate. Like that's part of that journey."
That sounds awesome. I love hearing that, and I also love what you said about regulating yourself. And I sort of, from outside looking in, I don't have children myself, but I see how the parents are, worn out and run down, but not looking after themselves. And I'm like, how do we help? How do we help? Like, yes, we're supporting your children, but my big thing is like, how do we support a parent, and whether that's a little bit extra time off. I think that's something that maybe, I don't know, the NDI needs to consider, of sort of allowing that parental care is sort of downtime,
parental responsibility. Like that's where Elijah, because Elijah's comorbid things are not severe or like intense, so he's never had a support worker. And then like as they get older, I think they can get, well, it just depends on what type of disabilities they have or something. But I was sometimes like, I just need that time away. So he would go to daycare 4 days so I could have a bit of a break, because it was just a lot of that it was quite intense all the time. As soon as he's up, it's just like go. There's no, and that's the challenge, is like, and having to get through that, mourning that or grieving that, and like staying in our own lane, not going, oh, well, he should be like, I wish he was like this. I'm like, no, this is the child I've got, and I love him, and like it's doing more harm to go, I want him to be like this, or but there are days, everyone's going to have those. People do have those thoughts. But it's also knowing, but parental exhaustion. And they just go, oh, that's all parental responsibilities. And like, well, no, it's actually survival too, because sometimes we are not, because we're exhausted. Sometimes it's just like 15 minutes with a friend to have a coffee is priceless, but you don't get that sometimes.
That's right. It's parents' responsibility, but it almost needs to be sort of, yes, I understand all kids can be challenging, but when you've got, an extra layer, of demand, I can't see anything like that happening. But
it depends on the parents as well. Like I'm a sole parent, and I've got support. Like I don't know any different, so I don't know when to tap out and go, oh, the other parent comes in and helps out. Or I haven't got that, but when I do get help, I'm so grateful for it. But also just like, oh, okay, now what do I do? Like, I
got time. What do I do?
Now I'm like, oh, I'll do all the things. I'm like, oh, now I'm tired. And like, I get that guilt.
Do you have a good network of friends that you can rely on?
Yeah, we have, and then I do tap into the after-school care program that the school offers, which has been fantastic. And my brother, we live with my brother at the moment, so that's been really good to have that bit of connection. So it's not always on me, even though he's had time off with him as well, and they've gone off and done activities and things like that. But it means even just having that conversation isn't always with me all day, every day. There's a buffer.
If you could offer any advice to parents or carers, either starting their journey or midway through, what do you think you would say to them?
Having sort of reaching out to people that have also got kids like your kids. You only know what you know. And a lot of time, I spend a lot of time in being embarrassed or shamed to like even reach out to people. You're just in this zone of like survival. Once you find your tribe or that helps. I think that helps just to kind of go, oh yeah, I get it. It just feels you can kind of relax a little bit and not have to constantly apologize for your children's outward behavior sometimes. Not that you have to, but just that definitely people that may have been on that journey, and also ones that are on the journey at the same age, but also people that are ahead of you in the journey too. So there's some kind of guiding post or some light, or like some mentors that have got older, maybe their children are in their 20s, 30s or whatever, but they can give you some really good advice as well.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And then you can be that person that advising the ones behind, like younger than you.
Yeah, no, that's good.